Let's do it.
There you go.
Cool. All right. All right. Let's go, man. This is always the best part for me. Hey guys, Mike Fisher here, MF Cashflow. I'm here today with Bruce Wuollet, man, and this guy is out of one of my favorite cities ever. If you guys listen to me enough, you know I love the Phoenix area, and he was just teasing me that he's sitting in his shorts right now and t-shirt, and I'm like, I call bullshit on this, but guys, this guy, he used to live in Chicago, and I think it was like he said 20 years ago he left, and in the Chicago area he left, and I don't blame him for never coming back. Because this is, as you guys know, if you've not been to the Midwest, it's not a place that you go to and then leave and come back. It's just not. So this guy's got a fantastic story. I really can't wait for him to peel it back and just see where he came from. I just met him maybe about a month ago or so at a conference in the Loop area, and he was speaking, and I just heard his story, and I thought, man, this guy's got a great story, and I think people need to hear his story, and then also just of what play he's making in the real estate market. And it's interesting enough just having a conversation with him a few minutes before this, and he and I know similar people. So it's a small world out there, and but we can get to that later. Bruce, thank you so much for being a guest on the MF Cashflow. I like to say the Mike Fisher Cashflow or the motherfucking Cashflow, whatever works for you, man. But thank you so much, and just if you could just share a little bit about your story, Bruce. I'm kind of anxious for the audience to hear the story. Blast it out, man.
Well, I'll start with the name. The name of the company is Bakerson, and I grew up in the bakery business in Minneapolis. The Wuollet Bakery is still in business there, and so I always tell people I'm an SOB. I'm a son of a baker, and it gets a good chuckle. So, like I said, I grew up in the bakery business, and in honor of my father, I named it Bakerson. He really liked that, and then a few years after started my business, he had passed away, but in his honor, the legacy of his name lives on in our company name. Sweet. So that's why it's Bakerson. And I tease people we're still raising dough. So that's a little fun with play on words. But yeah, I like I said, I lived in Minneapolis and then Chicago, and then worked my way down to Phoenix. I tried a few different sales positions, a couple different businesses, and then in 2001, I landed in real estate, chasing tax lien foreclosures with a friend, Gary, who also has passed away, but he was my mentor in teaching real estate and how to really dig down and find owners and find the owner, talk to the owner was the mantra we had, and we were always pursuing that. But with tax liens, he was leaving a lot of money on the table, and I said, Gary, there's other ways I can buy this property. I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, which is frankly the only one of his books I really liked. The rest of them are good, but Rich Dad Poor Dad was pretty eye-opening just conceptually and made me think. So I got into buying houses, and I bought some from Gary, my business partner at the time, and said, hey, I'm going to buy these ones myself, fixed them up and sold them. And then in 2002, I met a very good friend, Jack Martin. We got to talking, and his dad worked for my grandfather in the Wuollet Bakery in Minneapolis in the 60s. And so that's why we're both sons of bakers. And that's where the name came up. And so Jack and I was finding more houses than Jack could ever fix because he was a contractor and a partner. And so I was introduced to wholesaling in late 2002, 2003, 4, 5, 6, wholesaled, 40, 50, 60 homes a year. And when I say wholesale, it wasn't the same as what other people do where you flip contracts. We did that, but a lot of them, we took them down, cleaned them up, made them ready for the investor to come in and do their work, do the trash outs and do the board ups, get rid of graffiti, clean all the weeds, make the city of Phoenix was where everything we were buying was city of Phoenix, made a city of Phoenix code compliant. And the people came in, they could see what they could do with it. And we turned a little machine on. And then 2006, 7, we had some rentals, sold them all. And I was going to be this big land baron developer. We secured a square mile of land by a private country club. And we were working with the owner. And Greg Norman was doing the design work. We were going to be some big shots. And 2007, 8 happened. And I was a little late to the party. So I kind of held on to 10. until I finally just told the owners that I secured the property with. I just deeded it back to them and said, hey, this just isn't going to work. You guys can have your property. It's not going to be developed in this cycle, maybe not the next one, because it wasn't even worth the property taxes that were owed on it far out west of Peoria in Phoenix Metro. So that was the scars that we still just barely getting through all that psychologically, mentally. It took a long time to get through that with the capital we lost, 7 digits each, as well as some investor capital. The partners that came on board, the market happened. So then I got back into wholesaling in 2010, and boy, that was fun. 2012, we did 287 houses.
Damn, dude.
And it was my mantra that I said is a house a day is all I ask. And there's 23 working days in a month. So our goal was 23, and we hit that, and it was really exciting. In fact, we surpassed that. Awesome. And the fun things the things I missed, like one time we had 7 escrows for purchase or sale and 3 different title companies on the same day. And that was so fun. And everybody else said, Bruce, you're insane to have that going on. So we moved out of that and started flipping multifamily, wholesaled apartment buildings, 100, 200 unit buildings, 250 space mobile home park in Winkleman, which is out past Globe in the far east or east of the valley, Phoenix Valley. And then a motel right on Apache in Tempe. We flipped that motel. And then we thought, there's opportunities here to make some money. So we set up our first property was a 64 unit, 36th Street in Thomas in Phoenix. And the second one is 120 unit on 68th Avenue in Glendale. And then it went from there. We had 22 unit, 16 unit. And then Phoenix market was going like this, and our investors were not real excited about the margins. Thinking, well, you're instead of buying it as a good deal today and selling it as a good deal tomorrow, you're buying it and selling everything on pro forma numbers. Everything is on pro forma, and they're like, I want actuals. If we base it on what is the actual potential today and what can it be tomorrow based on today's numbers, and they didn't pencil. Well, looking back, every property we looked at in 2016, we could have paid full list and made a lot of money on it, but you don't know that. I mean, 2020 hindsight, right?
If we had that crystal ball.
So I'm moving rather quickly through the timeline, but then
you're good.
We went down into Tucson, and we were told that they don't like people from Phoenix. You're not gonna be able to buy anything. It's a closed culture, and we said that's fine. So we went down to the city, talked to them, talked to brokers, got to know the culture, got to know the people. And the first property we bought, we renamed. It was Coventry Manor. We changed it to Vista de Catalina, which is very Tucson. And then people start falling in love with what we're doing. And they say, you guys do care about the community. And so that's where we went. We've done nine projects in Tucson. Smallest was 12, largest was 87, and then 80 unit, and then next door is a 27 unit. It's Tuscany Village or Tuscany. And we've combined those two to 107 units because they're all contiguous on the same block. We own the whole block. Yeah. That one's an escrow to sell. That's pretty exciting. So that's real quick, the story from baking to where we're at right now with multifamily. And just a little bit on that. We went from the 18 to 36 month cycle, and now we're looking at how can we do it buy long term. And so we're going to be very careful ones we buy. They have to be good price per pound, because it's is now the best time to buy and hold. It can be, but you got to buy right. And we know about buying right. We had, I think it's going to be from July till now. So it's August, September, October, November, 16 months between closings on properties. We made over 40 offers before we got one accepted.
Wow.
And so that's, we're very patient with that. In fact, I tell the team it's better to want what we don't have than have what we don't want. So let's buy right.
Yeah, that's a big saying right there, man. That is, yeah. And even then, I'm sure you're like questioning it, like, oh shit, we actually got one. Like it's going on. I'm not one to go out fishing, but it's like cast out, reel in, and then finally you got something on the end of your hook, and it's a carp or something. Like how do you know if it's a carp or a trout? Like you got to do your due diligence, right?
Yeah, well, the one we have right now, we offered 1.1 million less than list on a 90 unit, and he took it. And we're like, whoa, did we miss something? you're right away. You have that. Did we miss something? But no, it's a really,
yeah.
really, really good deal. So we're excited about it. We close on it here in the next week or so.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know that feeling, and it's unfortunate that we get that feeling because it's like the market is not like it was in 2010. You know, it's completely different. It's always evolving. And there's one thing that I can hear through your whole story here is you are evolving through it. And it's been I don't know who originally said it. It really doesn't matter. But in hockey, you don't skate to where the puck is at. You skate to where it's going, right? And we talked a little bit about like, where do you see the market going here? And, you know, again, we don't have that crystal ball. However, every single day and just talking to people all over the country, going to meetings like the IMN conference and such, and hanging with high-level people, you get an idea of what's going on. You don't even, it's not like a big switch, like it just went off or something. It's just these little instrumental things that guide you through things. It could be a rate change. It could be population change. You know, we talked about like how many people. I was on a plane to Phoenix and sitting next to this guy who's a civil engineer for roads, and he's like the 101 and this and that, and it was at the 101 and the 202, I think, or something. He's like, and there's a they're going to be adding a new one because there's I don't know much. I'm sure all this may sound somewhat familiar to you. There's a curve in the road that I guess it bottlenecks through that curve. I'm not sure where that's at, but they're going to try to relieve some of it. And maybe this is actually happening because it was probably about 9 months ago.
303 is coming. It's going to loop around the South Mountain, and it's already been started up on the north. But yeah, there's traffic issues. Not like Chicago, but there are traffic issues.
Yeah.
Here.
So I don't know. Chicago's pretty bad, and I've been in the Phoenix area, sitting there in traffic. I'm like, this sucks, man. So, but yeah, I mean, it's listening to sitting on a plane, talking to that guy right there. And I'm like picking his brain, like, dude, if you were in my shoes as a real estate investor, where would you start to, ahead of the curve? Like, where's the puck going, right? Where I want to know these things. And it's not any one thing, it's multiple things talking to you. And that's why, our listeners here and just picking up one thing, right? There's actually a book, The One Thing, too. And so I know a few people have read it. It's a great book. So Bruce, where are you at right now? Like how many doors do you have right now?
Okay, I'm writing down the name of that book. You said The One Thing, so I'm
Yes.
gonna write that down. So yeah, we have 256 units in multifamily and ownership. And then, it's not large. We had over 400 at the beginning of the year. We've sold 2 buildings this year with the third one closing here in December. Repositioning, as you will, to free up some capital. And we have, I think 18 condos up in Ventana Canyon left. We started with 39 just over a year ago, and we're fixing those and selling those retail and just peeling them off as we can.
That's
so
awesome.
That's the total doors with 184 currently in escrow.
Wow. Well, with 30,000 people a month moving to the Phoenix metro area, I'm sure you got to know the numbers. Like, what are the numbers of? I mean, with that many coming in, like, how much new construction's going on, and is it actually keeping up, or is it like falling behind? I mean, is it with 30,000 people? Are you guys, do you see the outgrowth at being at 20,000 a month, or what do you see happening out there?
Well, yeah, that's one of the challenges. Some of the local economists have said that there's 150,000 units needed to be built, apartment units, over the next 10 years to support the demand. And we're at about 9,000 this year, which will be completed in 2019, if I remember correctly. So that it hasn't been there, but that Phoenix has been boom or bust. So it's going to happen. If I think, again, it's like very cyclical where they overbuild, and then they have, especially the Class A. We have seen some peaking and even price drops in some of the Class A. Yeah. The challenge I see is the workforce, and that's really where our passion is serving the underserved. And you can't build workforce housing unless you have a good government program, LIHTC or something like that, a tax credit of some sort. Because when you can buy them at $50 to $60 a foot, and it costs you $150 a foot to build them, who's going to build them for $150 a foot and then rent them out for $950? It's just, It doesn't make sense. It really doesn't, unless you've got really tiny cubicles that they live in, which obviously isn't humane. And we care about people, so we're going to focus on that. So I'm not sure with Phoenix. 3 years ago, we branched out to Tucson for that reason. We were uncertain of where this is going to go. But I believe a person to be successful in serving the underserved and in the workforce, there's going to have to be some creative government programs that people will need to do, because the properties have been, all the rough, ugly ones have been snatched up. There's not many that are really poorly run or vacant like there was in 2013, 14.
Yeah, yeah. And I've said it many times, everybody needs a place to live, work, play, or lay, man. You can't get around it, and taking care of the tenant. We discussed that a little bit of, by taking care of the tenant, it's everybody's heard that expression, if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy, right? And it's so true. You translate that into, if the tenant ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. And, that's why we've actually put systems in place, 24/7 hotline. So when they call, there's a live person to pick up that call and answer it. So they feel worthy, and then that gets shipped out to, or sent out, the work order gets sent out to whoever, it's got to go to at that point. But taking care of the tenant, keeping them in place, the value of it with the amount of doors that you have, keeping them in place increases your cash flow. You don't have the vacancy. You don't have the refresh cost. You don't have the cost of putting a tenant in place. That's just huge. I can only imagine. Your vacancy time has got to be down to days, not weeks or anything, from moving out to one back.
Yeah, vacancy is the largest, one cost to a property owner. If you're not making any income, and let's say you're asking $50 too much for your unit, instead of $950, you're asking $1,000, and it takes you a few months to fill that unit because you're just slightly overpriced. Well, how long does it take you to recoup that $950 that you could have received had you had it at $950? Right?
Yeah.
You're looking at 19 months. 19 months to recoup $50. So
a long time, man.
And that's why price it competitively, bring in the right residents, and do the right screening and backgrounds, and just help those that need a place to live. And to me, it's provide a place. It's very, very simple in workforce. They're not asking for high-end amenities. They're not asking for dog parks. They're not asking for gyms. They want something that's safe, functional, durable, and clean. That's it.
Yeah,
that's what they're seeking.
Yeah.
Just be left alone, live their quiet life, just like we all do. Yeah. But you think about living in these apartment communities that are run by slumlords. It's a problem. We bought those, and we enjoy buying them because we can make a difference. But wow, it's like, how do people live in there? Like, oh, I've been here 7 years and I just put up with it because I got no place else to go. It's like, well, you actually do, just pick up and move. And then there's those that leave because they have choices. And not many go from barely renting to owning in the life cycle of your ownership of that property. So the longer you can keep the resident happy, the better your investment is. That's just, to me, is a very key principle.
So Bruce, do you do any syndication? Are you looking for investors to work with you, or I'm looking at this, like, the opportunity is huge. You've got a huge opportunity in your own backyard, and with that many people going there, and the population is just growing and growing, and I look at it as opportunity, like screaming opportunity. We can talk offline about personally, but I shared with you a little bit about me. But do you do anything as far as, like, maybe JV or share with the audience?
Yeah, we've done a little bit of everything in that regard. Joint venture, we've done a number of those, but we do like the small syndications, $1 million, $1.5 million per capital raise for repositioning the properties, the purchase and repairs. And it's typically been 18 to 36 months, sometimes a little bit longer, sometimes a little bit shorter. We had a 34 unit that we turned from beginning till sale, which we got an offer. It wasn't even on the market. We just got an offer and we accepted it. And that was 11 months. We did really well. And then it's double-digit returns. We target the mid-teens as best we can, and sometimes we've been over 20, and oftentimes it's still in the mid-teens. And we haven't lost money on any of the apartment complexes which we have turned. Which has been really, it's a good track record. I know we're in a good market, so that helps. But we've also run it well. We made some good decisions along the way. So we do syndicate. and we are currently seeking capital. So that's something, if anybody wants to reach out, we're always willing to talk to them. If not this transaction, we'll have another one next year. So
Yeah, it's a good intro. How does somebody get in touch with you?
Well, the easiest way, the best way to reach me is email, bruce@bakerson.com, and that's BAKERSON, bakerson.com. And I can give out my cell number. Not everybody calls it. It's pretty rare, actually, when I give it out, people actually call, but you can call me at 520-808-9111. And I'd gladly talk to anybody that has questions about multifamily. Yeah, have questions about multifamily, questions about syndications, questions about how to treat residents right, treating them with dignity. I'm willing to share the little bit that I've done.
Yeah, and one thing that the audience would not know about you unless they know you is you really love hiking. And what better place to live than the Phoenix area to go hiking? But just share briefly, like your last hiking trip, Max. I'm wowed by it, and I love hiking myself.
Yeah, actually, this last weekend on Friday morning, 8 o'clock, 9 of us took the trek from the Hermit Trail at the south rim of the Grand Canyon. We hiked 10 miles, over 4,300 foot drop down to the Colorado River, and we camped under the stars and held all of our food down. And we were the only ones. There was no humans in sight from where we were. I think we met 3 on the way down, and then 8 on the way back. And then Friday, so I was 10 miles down on Friday. Saturday, we hiked 3 miles up to a plateau, camped there on a beautiful plateau, watched the sunset there, and then sunrise the next morning on Sunday, we hiked the 7 miles back out. And I'll tell you what, if anybody has the opportunity, the area we went to required permits. So they're already, the guys that organize are already planning for next year because they fill up really fast. I think January 1st, they open up for the year, but it's pretty impressive trek that we did, and seeing the Grand Canyon from the bottom is breathtaking. It's just, you cannot explain it. The pictures, people say the pictures are beautiful, and I said it still doesn't show the massive size of it and the beauty.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
That's
and
incredible.
What's pretty wild is the last 2 miles was 2,400 elevation climb. So we were walking up like switchbacks and steps, and by the time you get to the top, you're pretty exhausted. It was fun though.
I bet. And you will do it again
next year. I'm on the schedule for next November, so maybe I'll try again in May if I can get on another group. That'd be fun. But it was nice because it was once we got up to the rim where the Grand Canyon Village is, it was just full of people. There was no parking. There was wall-to-wall people, and it was just like a mile away is this trailhead, which is behind a gate. You got to go beyond a gate to get there. There's a trailhead. You hike down there, and you don't see anybody for 3 days. And there's thousands of people looking down. You can't even, when you're down there, you can't see the people at the top. It's, it's a mile deep, and they're 3 miles away. And
wow.
Yeah, as you can tell, it's pretty exciting.
Yeah. No, I can tell, and it is. Yeah, yeah, we can talk more offline. So where do you see yourself long term in the next 3 years? We'll make it. It's not too long, but 3 years. Where do you see yourself there? You have a lot of momentum going right now, and I know the market has a lot to do with how the next 3 years, and all. But where do you see yourself in the next 3 years?
Our target as a company is to have 1,000 units in ownership, either through joint venture, partnership, or syndication. And then from there, like to go to 10,000 units before I retire, if I retire. And so the 1,000 units is the first target we're hitting. And our target markets are going to be in the Phoenix metro, Tucson or Arizona. And then we're going to look in, we've got one we're working on in Texas, which is a 10-year hold. We'll look in, probably Colorado, Nevada, Utah, New Mexico. Awesome. The southern states, I really like the southern states. We understand the culture, we understand the weather, we understand the heating and cooling. It's a lot different here than it is in the Midwest. We have exposed plumbing here, and you can't do that in the Midwest. You have frozen pipes and all kinds of problems. Yeah. So we're going to stick to what we know, which is the Southwest, and we love it here.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I know you go out to Phoenix, and there's a water heater in a closet outside. You're like, huh? This never gets doesn't really ever get that cold ever to freeze. That's incredible. So, dude, you mentioned the Rich Dad Poor Dad book, and I can't tell you, I think every person that I have interviewed and has mentioned, that has been one book that they read. And like, how powerful is that? Like, it's just so incredibly powerful. And I know, have you ever played the cash flow game?
Oh yeah, we used to play years ago. Friends of
Yeah.
ours, we used to sit around and play that on the
That
evenings.
is
Yeah.
such a powerful game, and it's just so much fun. So, if anybody's out there and they have not played the game, I think it's just Cash Flow 101 or something like that. There's two different versions as far as I know. It's a really great game. It's not, a $20 game. It's probably like a $50, $60 game or something. That thing will teach you. I used to host cash flow games at different places, and for people that want to be a real estate investor, so they can get the feeling of some cash flow coming in, because you got to get the hell out of the rat race, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's like real life, and even just getting involved with somebody like Bruce, where you don't want to, be all in, both feet in. You leverage Bruce's time and his knowledge with your money and your credit, and just make little instrumental moves like that, like we talked earlier. And before you know it, you start growing your portfolio and being a part of something really cool. And depending on how aggressive you are, you can totally be out and have that financial freedom to get the hell out of somebody putting their thumb down on you and working your 9-to-5 job. And like Bruce earlier was like, hey, sorry, running a couple minutes late. I got lost in time playing with my daughter. How freaking awesome is that? Like, how cool is that? I love to hear that. It's like, yeah, financial freedom, you have the ability to do that, right? And the family's first. I mean, that's it. So Bruce, thank you so much, man, for taking the time out of your day and just sharing. You're a giver, I can tell. You're just permeating this giving part coming out of you. Like, you want people to succeed. I mean,
yes,
it's awesome. And the biggest givers are also the biggest gainers too in life. And people that give, man, are also the ones that are receiving. And it's just, that's the way it works. So thank you so much for giving everything that you have here. There's so much more that we can dig deep on and bring value. But guys, if there's something out there that has triggered you and you want more info, give Bruce a call. He gave his cell phone number out. How awesome is that? Who does that? Like, incredible. But this guy's a wealth of knowledge, and I knew without a doubt, just hearing this guy, he knows what the hell he's talking about. And I just challenge you to leverage Bruce's time and his knowledge with your money and your credit, guys. So Bruce, thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Mike. I really appreciate the opportunity. I'm going to haul you around to be my cheerleader. That's really nice what you said. So thank you.
All right, brother. All right, guys. Hey, live fully, love openly, and make a difference, guys.